Okay, a programming language is the key knowledge you need. It is the most important one as well as the most challenging one, but thankfully the most fun also. As I said before, automation is the process of writing code that executes test cases. Automation engineer is basically a developer. The core task of an automation engineer is to develop code. Do not get discouraged by this, but most automation engineers do have computer science background. The day-to-day tasks and the mentality of a developer in the QA are quite different, so people who graduate in computer science get to choose which path they take. Most take development for several reasons, but then some choose to take the QA path. That said, I know many automation engineers that do not have any computer science or software engineering background, including me. I myself have degrees in mechanical engineering. I taught myself how to code, and I've been doing great ever since. There are different kinds of automation engineers based on the type of tasks they focus on. Major ones are front-end automation, back-end automation, and performance testing. Now, most people get started with front-end automation. There are way more jobs out there for front-end automation. It's a bit difficult to understand what that is, a front-end versus a back-end. Don't worry about it, you'll get there. Front-end is basically the page that user sees. The back-end is what's happening in the background, meaning in the servers and the communication between the servers and the database. For example, when you're testing the login page, you're testing the page. Does the field show up? Can I type in the field? Is the URL correct? Can I actually log in? And so on. And if you're testing the backend for the login, you simulate the page and make calls to the server, and you see what's going on in the back, in the server, in the database, and so on. Either way, you do all this with some programming language. Typically, the backend is purely a programming language, but the front end you need tools. The most popular tool for front-end web automation is Selenium WebDriver. When I'm talking about front-end, I'm referring to web apps. Desktop apps like Microsoft Word, Notepad are also UIs, user interfaces, and are considered front-end, but my focus is on web, which is anything you view in a browser or a mobile app. Selenium WebDriver only works for web and apps, mobile apps I mean. Now, Selenium WebDriver is a tool and a library. It's not a programming language of its own. Don't get confused there. You can use WebDriver with several programming languages. Some of the languages that support Selenium are Java, Python, C#, Ruby, and PHP. You can get more information at seleniumhq.org. From my experience, the most popular in the industry for automation are Java, Python, and Ruby, in that order, which means you have to choose one of those languages and start learning. Okay, right off the bat, let's eliminate Ruby. Ruby is popular, but it is much further than Java and Python in terms of popularity. Now, Java and Python are neck to neck, so that's a bit of a difficult decision. What's my recommendation? Well, Python. Java is great, but Python is easier. My recommendation for your first language is to learn Python. When you're learning to program for the first time, you're learning what programming is, plus the syntax of the language. So you have to learn the concept of programming as well as the rules of how to write that specific language. Now, Python's syntax is much easier than Java's. So learning the syntax part will be easier with Python. Java is very strict with everything. It makes you follow rules very strictly. So when you learn Python, you will understand the core concepts of programming without struggling much with the syntax. Then when you learn Java in the future, you already know the concepts, so it's easier to learn the syntax. Any language for that matter. Once you know the concept, then it's a matter of learning the syntax of any specific language. So yes, I do recommend Python, but for some reason, if you say you'd rather start with Java, then I'm all for it. Java will teach you more about oriented programming. There are many courses on the internet to learn these languages. Of course, my first recommendation is Udemy. And of course, my first recommendation on Udemy is my course. I have a course that teaches Python from scratch and Selenium WebDriver from scratch in the same course. There are tons of courses on purely Python, and there are a few courses on purely Selenium. You can check out all these courses and make a decision which one is best for you. In my course, I take the fluff out and focus on the core concepts. I designed my course for complete beginners. I talk and teach as if you do not know anything on the subject matter. according to the comments I get, I find it that people really appreciate that. There you go, that's a bit of a sales pitch for my course. But I do sincerely think my courses are the most bang for your buck. I say courses because I have other courses that are not Selenium, that's backend testing and BDD style testing, which we'll get into later. But the first focus should be Python and Selenium, or for some of you, Java and Selenium. Also check out the Java courses and see if they have anything to persuade you to start with Java. I would also go on YouTube and see what people have to say about Python versus Java for your first language. One more site you can check out to learn for free is codecademy.com. It's not Code Academy, it's codecademy.com. They have a tutorial on Python. It's pretty good, but I personally prefer videos. You should also definitely check out an app called Solo Learn. They have different versions for different languages. I like it because I can just go through the tutorials anywhere. That cannot be your primary source of learning, but it's a great way to learn while on the go. I think they do a great job. Alright, that's all I have to say about programming languages at this time. I recommend you start as soon as possible. I think you will find it to be interesting and fun to write code. After you get the basics down, you will start to write your own mini projects. You will soon find you have day-to-day activities that you can write code to accomplish. Feel free to start a conversation in the Q&A section of this course for anything, but especially for this topic.